What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video, and today we're going to be looking at which Canadian teams will probably make the NHL playoffs this season. Now again, this is a prediction style video, so if you guys want to leave your suggestions down below or who you guys think will make the playoffs for Canadian teams this year, leave them down below. Again, don't argue down there. Let's just have a hockey conversation. Everybody has an opinion, so let's just have fun with it. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and just talk about each team and see where they may be after this season. So, obviously a lot of offseason moves were made for some of the Canadian teams. There was a couple teams that made a ton of moves. Some made a little less, and some didn't make enough, to be honest with you. But last year, we do know that Toronto and Winnipeg were the only Canadian teams to make the playoffs. Toronto was a first-round exit, and Winnipeg made it to the Western Conference Finals. So, those two teams look to be a lock for the playoffs this season, but we know the other squads that may not be able to punch their ticket this season. So I figured, why not start off with Toronto and Winnipeg, and then we'll make our way over to the other Canadian squads. So I'll start off with Toronto. John Tavares. You basically have to start there. The Leafs obviously got better by adding a guy like John Tavares, but some may argue that they didn't add enough on their blue line. So will that be something that's addressed at the deadline so that way they can guarantee a spot in the playoffs, even though they might already have a spot by then? Well, not locked in, but kind of, you know what I mean. Like, they look like they're going to make it. So, they've got a lot of depth already. They added Ozhiganov, a defenseman, as well. They added Per Lindholm, which I was saying it wrong. I didn't realize till I watched the Steve Dangle video where he said it's not par, it's pair. I think somebody might have told me that, and then another person told me it was par, but then somebody else said it was pair. It's Per Lindholm. That's the correct way to say it, I guess. So the Leafs will also... The Leafs also lost this year, of course. They lost Van Riemsdyk, Bozak, Martin, Komarov. They lost a lot of guys this year. But the fact of the matter is they added young, fast, talented players that either played for the Marlies last season or they acquired them from somewhere else. You added some veteran guys like Druris and Ennis to, add some depth to the team. But the blue line still could be an issue. But there are a lot of guys that are fighting for spots like Ozhiganov. Dermott still technically doesn't have a spot locked in, even though we kind of figured it is. Rosen, Borgman, Hall. There's a lot of guys that are going to be fighting for that. So the Leafs did make some moves this offseason, and like I said, John Tavares is the biggest one. You add the biggest free agent out there, a guy who's one of the better players in the league, you're going to have a successful offseason, of course. And then you have a team like Winnipeg, who's already stacked on their blue line and on their forwards. They haven't really lost a lot this offseason. They actually have made little moves in my eyes. They have a great goaltender as well. The Leafs do as well, so that obviously helps the foundation of the team. Sorry, I'm still sick, guys. I'm trying to battle this, but this Winnipeg team is going to be very good this season. You have all that scoring up front, and let's look at it for both teams here. They're going to run into some cap issues next season. So Winnipeg and Toronto should be all in this year, and I feel like Winnipeg is really all in. They're going to have to invest a lot of money next season. They also shed some cap this year by getting rid of Steve Mason, which is obviously good for them. That helps their cap, like I said. But Winnipeg is almost, to me, a guarantee to be battling for that division lead, and maybe even the entire league. They could be a President's Trophy team. The scoring that they have with Scheifele, Laine, Bufflin, you could just go down the list, the whole team. Connor, Wheeler, it's just a disgusting lineup, much like the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they do have the better blue line, and probably a lot of people would argue the better goaltender. He had much better numbers last season. I do like Freddie, but it's, you just pick. They're both good goalies. Hellebuck just probably had a better year. So, Winnipeg and Toronto, to me, are almost a lock. You move over to a team like Ottawa, and the reason I'm going next with Ottawa is because I don't really want to talk about them for that long because of the fact that their head office is just really stupid. I'm sorry. I had to say it. They made a lot of really dumb mistakes. That Karlsson trade was not a good move in my eyes. I don't think a lot of people like that move. And I know he had to be traded, but the pieces that you got back, there's so many conditions to those picks that they got. The players that they got back are some serviceable NHL players and some, prospects, but I don't think that they really got the full value that they could have gotten. Stone and Duchesne and Anderson, those are guys that could be dealt by the deadline. I don't think any of them really would like to stay long term, even though some of them have said that. The fact of the matter is they're probably going to get dealt because this is a rebuild and Ottawa's going to want assets. So Ottawa's going to be in a bad spot, especially if they do end up somehow winning the draft lottery. That pick will end up going to the Colorado Avalanche because they had the option to give it up this past draft, but they took Brady Tkachuk instead of, giving the pick to Colorado there. Either way, they're kind of screwed. I can't see them being in there. The next team I'll talk about is Vancouver. Now, Vancouver is a team that could surprise some people this year, but I don't think that they'll be making the playoffs. Vancouver has a lot of scoring. Pettersson, Besser, of course, Horvat. They've got a lot of really good young pieces that are going to be special in the future, like Hughes and Ulevi. Hopefully, they have a really, really good season this year when it's building as a team. They've got some goaltending prospects as well, like Demko. He's going to look pretty good. Markstrom has looked pretty good. This team is going to, I've said it too many times, but they're going to be good. Give them 3 years, if that, and I think that they're going to scare a lot of people. That team is going to be a fun team to watch. They aren't going to make the playoffs this year. I'm sorry, they just aren't. Vancouver fans, I know some of them are hoping that maybe they could sneak in. I think they will surprise some people and be better than expected, but I can't see them being a playoff team this year, so I kind of have to say no to them as well. The next team is the Calgary Flames, who have made quite a few changes this offseason. Now, we have to look at first the big deal that they made. They got rid of Dougie Hamilton, and they replaced him with a guy like Noah Hanifin, and of course they got Lindholm as well in the deal. They're really hoping that Hanifin and Lindholm take steps this year to be better, because losing a guy like Hamilton and Ferland, and then you also add in a prospect like Fox, you're hoping that those guys really, really do well for you in Calgary, because you just gave up a good prospect and some good pieces off your team. You did acquire some good pieces, but you're looking for more. They got Derek Ryan, of course, that center depth. They're hoping Matthew Tkachuk has a better year, but you're also hoping that a free agent signing has a big year, and that's James Neal, the real deal. They're hoping that he has a big year, and I think that it was a good move for them to pick up more scoring. I think that this team looks a lot better. I think it's structured really well. Monahan and Gaudreau are going to have to carry that offense again. So with the moves that they've made, I want to say that they'll make the playoffs, but you know what? I'm going to say it. I think Calgary can make the playoffs this year. They're going to have to really get good goaltending this year out of Mike Smith. If not, that's going to really ruin their chances. But as far as it goes right now, I think that they have a chance to make the playoffs. Next, I'll go with the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah, Max Domi, I did not like that sucker punch. I needed to start with that because I didn't make a video on it. I did not like the fact that he threw that shot. And I just don't agree with it. I didn't like that, and that might not be the greatest start for the Montreal Canadiens this year, even though it wasn't preseason. They're really hoping that when Shea Weber comes back, that he has a good year, that he stays healthy after the injury that he just got. They're hoping Carey Price bounces back. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hopes for this Montreal team. You get a guy like Domi, and like I mentioned before, he made a big mistake, but hopefully in the regular season he cuts that out of his game. Even his father Ty, who was in attendance, we know Leafs legend, a lot of people would call him, wasn't too happy with that. They also, this team traded Max Pacioretty, and they got Tatar and some pieces back, but Pacioretty, I hope he does real good in Vegas, because Montreal, they've got some good prospects and whatever. They're looking like they could be decent in the coming years if they add some more young guys to that team. But Pacioretty, I love the guy. I hope he does well. I'm just on Daily Faceoff right now looking at this Montreal squad as well. I'm sick. I'm not going to try to say his name. Kotkaniemi. And with a stuffy nose, it's not easy to say either, but you guys know. And I've learned how to say his name, but it's just the fact that I'm so sick right now. My nose is stuffed up. I'm not going to say it properly. The next video I talk about Montreal, I'm going to do a lesson on how to say his name because I was taught as well. And that's no disrespect to him or anything like that. But I will get it when I'm not sick. They're going to look for Jonathan Drouin as well to have a big year. I'm just going through this lineup because I honestly am forgetting how many players that are on this Montreal team they're going to have better years. Gallagher was good for them. He's going to be a leader this year. Tatar, like I mentioned before, that's a big deal to get rid of Pacioretty. He's going to have to prove something. Plekanec is back. He's back in the blue and red there. Hopefully he has a good homecoming. I loved him when he was on Toronto for a little bit in the playoffs. Other than that, he wasn't the greatest, but he's all right. Nick Suzuki, man, he's looking like he's going to be a real good prospect. I think that was a good pull out of that deal. So good for Montreal for getting back some value, and I'm rooting for Nick Suzuki this year. Their blue line is hurting real bad. They do not have a good blue line. Mete is going to have to be better than a lot of people expect him to be in my eyes. Alzner's not that great. Schlemko, I think that he definitely is going to have to take some of that ice time. But like I mentioned before, Carey Price, hopefully that he can handle that workload, or else it's not going to be that great because that Montreal team needs him if they want to win games. Niemi as well. He's going to have to handle some games if they want to let Price rest because of injury, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy and hasn't been playing all that well. They might want Niemi to step in and take on some of those games just to give Price a break, but this Montreal team is not making the playoffs. Last but not least, the Edmonton Oilers, a team that I figured could have a shot at making the playoffs this year, but I don't think they will. You can't let everything lay on the shoulders of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. With the fact that this blue line is hurt now, with Sekera being out probably for the whole year, and maybe even some people are saying career-threatening, I'm not sure how true that is. Darnell Nurse finally got a contract. You're really relying on some guys that haven't really, played to their full potential in my eyes. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins might be a guy that can take another step if he continues to play with Connor McDavid. He had a good year last year. And then you're also hoping Ty Rattie steps up. A lot of people want him to just explode this year. Do not put too much pressure on him because this Oilers team does not have a ton of scoring. They should have more scoring, but they didn't really add to that, which I figured they might try to this offseason. They picked up a guy like Tobias Reeder. They want him to play a little more of an offensive style of game probably because... Like I'm going to keep saying it, this Oilers team does not have the offense that they need. Draisaitl and McDavid can't do it all. That blue line is not really that great. Klefbom has to be better. He wasn't as good as he could be last year. Talbot is going to have to be better, but they can't rely on him all the time. So this Oilers team, I don't have too much to say because it's kind of up in the air and it's a little bit disappointing. McDavid probably wanted more help being brought in. Puljujarvi is definitely going to have to be better. And we'll have to see if maybe a prospect will come up like Bear and prove himself and get onto the team. And hopefully they can stay healthy because an injury to one of their top stars is going to just completely ruin this team. They already don't have a huge chance of making the playoffs. I don't think they will. But Chiarelli... he's got to be on the ropes right now. If he doesn't add more to this team, I mean, how can I even say if he didn't add as much as he should have to this team? Their cap situation is going to be a little bit tight. Lucic, even though he's got a bad cap hit, you kind of need him to be good this year and hold on to him because it's just more points that you're going to be losing if you get rid of Lucic unless you find a way to get rid of him and bring in something better, which is almost impossible at this point. But you know what? Chiarelli has got to be losing his job if they don't, do something good this year. I mean, I can't see them making the playoffs. I really don't. So let me know what you guys think. Which Canadian teams will make the playoffs this season? If I'm wrong, let me know. But be constructive about it. Don't be so mean. Everybody's so mean in the comments. Don't be mean to each other, okay? Let's have a good hockey conversation. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 4,000 subscribers. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.